Alright guys, today we're going to check out this sentinel-x 10-40 by 50x by Vector Optics today. This is a big boy here, so I'm trying to fit her into the screen for you there. Now this is actually focused on airgun precision,
but you can mount and use it on centerfire rifles if you so desire, which I will be displaying in this video.
but due to that, it will also work very well up on a 22 rifle for, you know, target shooting with 22 rifles and competition type shooting, which is actually what I got it for. I don't personally have anything like that, but I have a buddy who does, so he's going to absolutely love this thing. So it is set up. First of all, I don't know how well, I don't think we can get all that in frame there. You can see there they're advertising a 5-year warranty. Little QR code there for the owner's manual and whatnot, and there's some instructions there. I did have this open previously, and I didn't see any instructions inside other than what's already on this paper here, so I believe you have to, you know, the instructions are online if you need them. But yeah, this thing is focused on airgun competition, but it can handle, you know, up to 308 recoil, no problem whatsoever. It's got a 750G recoil rating, so that'll handle a 308 no problem. I'm personally going to throw it up on a 5.56, but I'm going to show you guys the reticle and explain it to you. So the airgun competitions, I guess, maybe not here, but possibly elsewhere. I'm not sure if this is a European brand or what, but I'm trying to show you on the parallax setting here if I can get a halfway dang decent focus. So obviously when you're shooting airgun at targets, competitions, and 22 long rifle as well, relatively close range shooting. So this thing actually has settings. You can see there's your dot right there. It's for meters, 25 meters, 50 meters, 100 meters, and then anything beyond. So I'm going to show you guys in the video, which is also part of the reason I'm going to use 5.56. I will be able to shoot this thing 300 yards, for example, no problem. So you can use it for that as well. But 25 meters, I think, is 27 yards roughly. 50 meters is like 54 yards. So it's very close. So your parallax will pretty much be spot on there if you are using this on a 22 long rifle for the 50-yard competitions and whatnot. And then if you're doing like the silhouette targets out to 100 and whatever, you even got a 100-yard setting there. But the thing that's cool about this, so it's such a powerful scope, 10-40x, right, with the 50mm objective lens there, but it's actually designed, unlike most scopes with that much power that are intended to be used for, like, you know, 500, 1,000 yards, whatever. This is designed to be used kind of close range, so it should allow us to get a real good focus as close as only 25 meters, because that's actually what it's designed for. Its main intent. Again, you can use it for shooting further, and you can even use it on centerfire rifles. But the reticle design and the parallax and all that is set up for those close range pellet gun and airgun 22 long rifle competition type shooting. So this will give you focus at like 25 meters on maximum magnification, and that's actually how they advertise using it. The little tiny center dot in the reticle is only 1.5 millimeters wide in diameter at 25 meters on 40x magnification. So if you've ever tried to use a high power rifle on, say, a 22 to shoot close range, 25, 50 yards, what have you, and it's difficult to get it focused because a high power scope's just not really made for that close range, this one is made for that closer range. So I can't wait to try it out. Also, super minute adjustments. You got 1/8 MOA clicks instead of the standard 1/4 MOA clicks. So it'll allow you a lot more precision there in fine tuning it and getting it perfectly dialed to shoot itty bitty little groups with competition style rifles. We do have a diopter here. Obviously you got your scope caps, front and rear. I'm going to go ahead and pop those off for now with the flip up caps. Okay, there's your big old lens there, and to the best of my ability I will get images of the reticle through the scope for you guys. So hopefully that works out all right for us. So there you see there, we do have a diopter. Wow, that's really smooth. So you can set it up for your own personal eyesight. Magnification dial, super smooth, super easy to turn all the way up to 40x, 10 to 40, like I said. Obviously these are locking turrets. They're resettable, re-zeroable. So you get your rifle sighted in, then you can take this off, pull the cap up slightly, turn it back to 0 without it clicking. That way you can use these dials if you want to actually use it to dial up for longer range shots. So they are resettable, re-zeroable as well. Let's see what else is in the box. I'm really stoked to try this thing out. I can't wait, because I've done some of that 50-yard 22 shooting. And then, yeah, the crosshairs on traditional scopes are usually, they got that real tiny center dot that you can aim at, but most crosshairs are too big, or even if they have the dot, it's too big and it completely covers that thing. This should be the size of that dot or smaller at 50 yards, and certainly at 25. Like I said, it's set up for meters, but 1.5 millimeters they're advertising on that crosshair dot in the middle at 25 meters, which is 27 yards. So that means it should be about 3 millimeters instead of 1.5 millimeters. It should be 3 millimeters at 50 meters, which is 54 yards. It's still only going to cover about 3 millimeters of your target, and then obviously at 100 meters, or I think it's 109 yards is 100 meters, it's going to cover a 6 millimeter portion of your target. So we got our screen wipe there. There's a deep pocket here. Got our Allen wrench there. I think that's everything down in there. Obviously we got a silica pack there. And then here's the scope rings that it includes. They also sent me a different set. Let me grab that real quick. Now it comes with these high rings. You can see it says extreme high profile. I wouldn't call it extreme. I've seen them higher. You can see there 1.4 inch height. Because typically the air guns and the competition style 22s or just high end 22s or whatever, they have a relatively low bore axis, so the barrel is not too far under where these were mounted. If you had a traditional, like say bolt action hunting type rifle where the action is up here, then your scope rings are going to be up here, but then your barrel's like clear down here. Those will probably be a little too high for something like that, but they're going to be perfect for something with a low bore axis. Like if you picture an AR-15 or an AR-10 with a full rail, that for example right there, those rings are going to be perfect for that because it has a low bore axis, because basically right under the full rail, the full length rail, the barrel is not too far down under there. But if you throw that up on like a classic design bolt action hunting type rifle, which obviously that's not really what the scope is made for, it'll probably be a little too high there, in which case you will need, which I think is why they sent me these off to the side, these are 20 MOA rings. So if you don't know what that means, basically that means instead of the scope being mounted flat, it actually angles the front of the scope down slightly. So it points down towards the tip of your barrel. It's not that extreme, but it points it down a little, because if you have it mounted too high up on a rifle where it's going to put that scope way higher than the barrel, then you might not be able to adjust it down far enough if you're trying to do those close range shots, 25, 30 yards, etc. So if your scope is up too high, you're going to probably need one of these 20 MOA ring sets, and it's going to tilt that scope down for you there so that you'll actually still have enough range of adjustment to use it for those close range shots, if that's what you're using it for. But I think since I'm just throwing it up on a regular AR, which you guys will see in just a moment, these should work for me just fine, which is what I'm going to try first because that's what it came with. But worst case scenario, we have these as backup, but I don't think we'll end up needing those. But if you have a rifle where your scope's going to be kind of high up there, high bore axis over the barrel, then you're probably going to need 20 MOA rings.
Or of course, alternatively, you could just get lower scope rings, provided that the front of the scope will actually clear on your rifle.
But I think that's enough yammering on there, so I'll see you down at the rifle range here in just a few seconds. We'll get her mounted up, try her out, see how she does, and hopefully get some decent images through the reticle for you guys. Okay, there she is all mounted up and ready to go. As I said earlier in the video, whoa. Again, focused towards air gun competition, 22 long rifle competition, shooting, target shooting, what have you. But I'm mounting it up on the 5.56. As I said, they advertise they can handle 750 Gs of shock, so it should be able to handle a 308. No problem if you want to put it up on your AR-10. So this is a 16-inch carbine, just for a size reference. So it is a big boy scope, obviously. But we're mounted up and ready to go. Actually, I need to torque these guys down real quick. I got my top torqued, not the bottom yet. So like I said, I use the rings included. Stay tuned. I'll do my best to get you guys some through the scope images towards the, I don't know, middle / end of the video. So the best of my ability will get that for you. Gonna get started here, and I can say already super impressed. I'm able to zoom in all the way on that 50-yard target there. The parallax seems to work pretty decent. However, out at 100 yards, I've heard some people say these aren't, definite, that they're just, a reference point. On 100, for me, with my eyes, which I do not have perfect eyes, I wear prescription glasses, it was a little fuzzy, so I had to turn it just a hair back from 100 to about, I don't know, where 75 or 80 would be, I would guess, and then it was fine for me. Also, keep in mind, like I said, this is set up for meters and not yards. While they are very close, they are slightly different. So 50 yards, 50 on the parallax is dead on for me. But at 100 there, I had to dial it back a little bit, at least for my eyes. And I did play with the diopter on the back here a little bit. But I was able to get it parallax free, no problem. Bob my head up and down, and the dot's staying nice and centered like it should. But yeah, I'm getting pretty clear, crisp image down there, 50 yards, with it all the way zoomed in. And I've definitely never seen those little dots look so large in a scope. Those are 3/4 inch dots, and the little center dot on the crosshair was many times smaller than those little 223 holes down there in the paper currently. So very, very fine dot, like I explained earlier in the video. So anyways, I'm going to take a sighter here on some debris, see where we're at. I will circle it in the video for you guys so you can see what I'm shooting at down there. I'm going to go for that. There's like a clay pigeon upside down wedged in the mud there. We'll shoot at that first. Got to get it close before we come to the paper here. So we're going to do these 50-yard shots, do some groups. This thing shoots close to MOA. Although I can say, using a tripod today, not the most steady. And with that thing zoomed in all the way, I can see I'm having a difficult time. Those are 3/4 inch red dots down there on the target. I'm having a difficult time keeping the dot, the center crosshair dot on this, inside of those dots. I'm going like this all over inside the dot. So it's MOA at best with the ammo I'm using, plus I'm definitely getting some movement. So don't expect spectacular groups down there. But we'll start at 50, then we'll do the 100-yard shots like I said. And then I got my 16-inch gong set up out there. Like I said, this thing's for, it's designed around air gun and 22 LR competition, but we're going to make 400-yard shots with it. Just like I said, you should be able to use it pretty much just like a regular scope if you want as well. So I'm going to demonstrate that shortly in this video. So let's go ahead and get started down here at 50 yards. So right here's that clay pigeon, and only about 3/4 of it is exposed. Alright, look to be about 4 inches low and 2 inches off to the left. Now these are 1/8 MOA per click, remember? So, what I say, 4 low, so I need to go up, since that's 50 yards. And also, that's a good point, I don't know if that's set for 1/4 MOA going by meters or going by yards, but they're close enough, close range, like I said, that we can just guesstimate it. So if I need to go 4 inches up at 50 yards, that is 8 MOA, because that would translate to 8 inches at 100 yards, which would be 8 MOA. So we need to give it 8, again, clearly marked.
And I just got to turn it twice as much because these are 1/8 clicks, 1/8 MOA clicks, but it's still marked for 1/8. And then what I say, I was like 2 inches left. Let's see which direction, clearly marked again, so I need to move it to the right, so I need to turn it counterclockwise. And so 4 MOA, because it was 2 inches roughly. Why is there 2 3s? That's interesting. Okay, so obviously that's just a guesstimation. I didn't go down there with a tape measure and measure the mud or anything like that. So we'll take another shot at it, see how much closer we are, and if we're pretty close, go ahead and get it on paper and get it finalized. So same target here. Let's see if we're closer. We should be. Alright, so if not a direct hit, it was dang close to bust it like that. So now we'll go ahead and move down here, finalize the 0. So I'm zoomed in all the way on my camera here, 20x, so it looks about twice that close for me in this scope on 40x. So let's go for the dot on the right. And again, coming up in this video, I will be showing you images with the reticle through the scope. Alright, pretty nice little tight group there. Again, you know, obviously we're only at 50 yards. But that, like I said, I'm moving around. I can see my freaking heartbeat. It's going like, moving the dot inside that 3/4 inch. I'm moving around, so I'm getting 3/4 inch of movement from human error almost. It's a mil-spec lower with a mil-spec trigger and a BCA upper, so nothing fancy, but shooting good at 50 there. So it looks just a hair off to the right, so I probably need to give it like a click or two back to the left. And she's a little low there, obviously, so I need to go up some. I'm going to do that off camera. It might not be perfect, but we'll go ahead and swing down to 100 yards now after my adjustments. Well, we got some wind now. I've been fighting the storms all day. I already got rained out once, but it has not stopped raining here for like months, so I got to get out here when I can. So we'll go for that dot on the left. Obviously, it's the only one you can still see other than the center oval. 100 yards down there, dot on the left. And we're probably not 100% zeroed yet. I just gave it a couple little clicks here and there. Probably going to get some bullet rice still out there to 100, but going for that dot on the left. First shot is me. I'm having a very difficult time keeping it on that dot. My heart's making it go all over the place. So yeah, I'd say she's good to go. I am not optimally set up to shoot super tight groups today. I was just shooting 1-inch groups down there at 100 earlier, but once I was seeing, I'm just moving so much. I don't know, fighting the storm and the wind. But yeah, anyways, I mean, this is not a precision shooter, but we're zeroed there, so I flung a couple of those. Once that one went way off, I'm like, yeah, screw it. Let's just hurry up and get through this. So the main point I wanted to show you guys, other than getting some, hopefully some decent images through the reticle before this dang storm blows in here, show you that you can shoot at long range as well on a center fire like we're using today. So go ahead and go out there 400 yards, and I'm gonna have to guess. I'm not doing my mathematics here and all that. So to start, place some siders out there. I gotta guess how high I need to aim. That board towards the top, there's 2 about halfway up the mound.
Video's getting long, so I'm going to skip this part and we'll just go ahead and go to the part where I found where to hold so that I'm getting reliable hits on the gong down here at 400 yards.
Again, I could do the math on this and adjust for dope and all that if I entered the load data and yada yada, but I ain't got time for that right now. I'm just going to hurry up and get them out there. Alright, that was a hit. I think I found where to hold. That was another hit. I know I got at least 2 in a row there once I found where to hold. I'm not sure if the third one was a hit, but you guys will know from the video. Now, I'd love to sit here and get 5 in a row for you with 0 misses, which I'm guaranteeing you I could do no problem. But again, it's getting dark. I'm about to get kicked out of here by the range officer, so I got to start packing up. But I mean, I proved my point. You can use it to shoot 400 yards. We got at least 2 on there without just rushing and not knowing exactly where I needed to hold. So those 2 were probably close to the edge somewhere. So that third one probably just barely missed wherever we were impacting down there. So, you know, again, you can shoot it 400 and 500 yards with centerfire cartridge if you want. So you don't have to use it just for you know, air rifles and 22 long rifle. Again, that's its focus, but you can use it as a regular scope on a centerfire if you want. So super impressed that I can get focused down there at 50 yards. I mean, excuse me, I believe them that, you know, it would focus in pretty good at 25 meters, 25 yards, because that's what they have designed this thing to do, which is why it's got 25 meter parallax setting on the side. Like I said, that's what they advertise when you go and look at this thing. Again, link in the description if you want to check it out. You know, you got a 1.5 millimeter wide dot at 25 meters. So it's 3 millimeters dot at 50 meters, and then at 100 meters, which again is very close to 100 yards, you would have a 6 millimeter dot, which is still very fine. Like I said, on those 3/4 inch red dots on my target, it was many times smaller than those dots. I could see that thing swimming all inside of that dot with me moving around and stuff. So very fine dot to allow for very precision shots. It's designed to go maximum 40x magnification, very close ranges like that, because that's what they built it to do. But you can still shoot 400 or 500 yards with it, no problem, with centerfire cartridges. So I would probably, personally, you know, buy it for that close range shooting stuff, because that's the huge appeal and advantage of this thing, is that you can do that. But if you just want that really fine dot and a 40x magnification, so you can shoot, say, little prairie dogs out there 400 and 500 yards with like maybe a Ruger 204 or anything like that, that might be why you're interested in something like this as well. That way you get that really fine dot. So on those small targets, several hundred yards out, you know, your center crosshair is not blotting out the whole freaking target or animal or whatever that you're trying to shoot at. And so if you want to use it for that, you can. Alright, ran out of daylight the previous day. I'm out here, this the very next day, much nicer conditions today. So now I can get some images through the scope for you guys so you can see what it looks like there. Again, in those dark and rainy conditions, I was still able to shoot at 400 yards, but the light transmission was low, but still manageable. So now we got some sun out here. Not planned intentionally, and it's just what happens to be today, the weather. I come out here when I can, but let's get some images for you guys now. So first images I'm going to show you here is on our target down there at 50 yards.
As always, it looks much better in person than what I can ever capture through the scope. I've been doing scope reviews for years, and it's always difficult to get these images through the scope. And the higher power magnification you go up, the more difficult it becomes. That said, I was having slightly more difficulty than normal getting images through this one, and then especially so once the magnification got really high. You can see some chromatic aberration, if I'm saying that correctly, where it's making like the blue coloring around the edge of the target there. You can already see on 10x, and it gets worse as the magnification increases in these images. However, I wasn't seeing any of that with my naked eye until I was up there, you know, 30, 40x magnification. And these images make it look about 10 times worse than what it looked like to my own actual eye. So please keep that in mind. But here we are on that target at 50 yards on the minimum magnification of 10x. And then here's the same target, same distance, 50 yards on 20x magnification. And then finally, here we are at 40x magnification, and you can see that thing just zooms you in there so freaking close. And you can see now just how tiny that dot is in the center of the reticle on the scope. Again, those red dots on the target are 3/4 of an inch wide, and the dot on the optic is just looking teeny tiny there. And then here we are down at that 16-inch gong at 400 yards. There is some humidity in the air here, so it may look a little smoky, foggy because of that. And once again, it always looks far better in person with your own naked eye than with these images that I can provide for you guys here. But this is the minimum magnification of 10x. So as you can see there, on minimum magnification, I can ring that plate no problem at 400 yards. Potentially even hit a prairie dog with only the 10x magnification. But then here is the 20x magnification, 400 yards. Now you could definitely use that no problem on a prairie dog down there. And then now on 40x magnification, this is a really bad picture. Again, very difficult to get images through scopes in general, but this one was worse than normal. And I actually tried like 6 times, and this was the best I could manage. So all of the blurring and the darkness and what have you is because I could not hold the camera still. It was a margin of error of like 1 millimeter to be able to capture this image. So there's none of that looking through it with the naked eye. It's just a terrible photo. It's very difficult to capture. But you can see that thing zooms you way freaking close down there, even at 400 yards. I feel like if the rifle was accurate enough, I could literally pick a grasshopper off the edge of that steel plate there. So if I could do that at 400 yards, then I would say this is plenty of magnification for a prairie dog, even out at 1,000 yards.
So yeah, it did everything I wanted it to do, and probably more than what you guys thought it could do, or at least some of you guys could be like, that's not what it's for, but I just proved you can do that. I would say I would only have one negative, one complaint, if you will. Again, this camera is making it look about 2 times as bright as it is right now. It's like dusk. It's very dark out right now. I got to get packed up. But I noticed the light transmission is not the greatest. So that's the only thing I'll say. Now, if it wasn't so dark and gloomy and overcast, I might even try, I'll probably do that right now. I will adjust the video to show you what it is actually looking like to me right now, how dark it actually is out here. Because again, the camera is doing its job and trying to show you better image quality as it's getting dark out. But it's much darker than it appears. So with that, I'm still able to hit that at 400 yards, even though the light transmission in these real dark conditions, not very good on maximum magnification. But I dialed it back some to about probably 30x, and then I got all the light back. So it's only like the very last 10x or less where it goes kind of dark on me. But again, we're shooting in pretty dark conditions right now. So if it wasn't dusk right now and overcast, I'm sure it would be just fine. And then obviously full sun is going to be just fine. But I would say that's the only possible negative I notice, is that in low light conditions on maximum magnification, light transmission, not superb. But if you turn it down some, then it gives you plenty of light. So, but I mean, most people aren't trying to, pop prairie dogs at 500 yards or competition shoot in these conditions anyways, so it's probably a non-factor for 99% of people. But I'm always honest on my reviews, so I wanted to point that out. That was the only negative I could find. So again, if you want to check it out, link in the description. For products I cannot link to, be sure to check out my campsite page for everything else that I can link to here on YouTube, like my shooting bag there, safety glasses, ear muffs, target stand I use, targets I use, steel targets, and way more. That is linked in the video description under the video/more button, I guess it says now. But for everything else, be sure to check out my campsite page. But thanks for stopping by and checking us out today, guys. Really appreciate it. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you think, and I hope to catch you on the next one.